Okay, it's day 164, and just had some thoughts on Washington, D.C. and Q and all this intrigue, NSA and so forth. So it's amazing when you leave Washington, D.C., first of all, how impatient you get. In Washington, there's always another meeting and always another, you always feel like an insider when you get to interview a senator or whatever. But you realize when you get on the outside of the bubble, outside of the echo chamber, that really not much is happening. Basically a bunch of people writing memos to each other saying what a great job they're doing, and actually, in fact, they're not doing anything. And I really tried all four estates. I tried the executive branch with Trump. I tried the legislative going all around the Capitol Hill and found out that didn't work, and still working the legislative, and things happen along the way, like, you know, it hurt my heart when Rudy, you know, if that's true, he did meet with Strokes at the cocktail party with Page. That would hurt my heart. But I still think there's hope on the judicial, but that's much slower moving. And then, of course, the final one was the fourth estate of the press, and it really worked the press, went to a lot of different press outlets, tried to give the story to a lot of different, or help augment the story with a lot of different press outlets, and finally ended up with Hannity, and Hannity still in black screen doing the Campbell soup, William Campbell, the kind of bagman for Uranium One, and the CFIUS bagman for Uranium One, and the person who is the most knowledgeable, the 20-year executive who knows everything, Campbell, Mark Lambert, being hidden in the background. So I think now's the time to kind of make a break and go back to the roots, go back to kind of America, where all these great researchers are. Milwaukee is a great researcher on the Q topic, for instance. You've got people in Minnesota, you've got people in Kansas City like Bygone and 9/11 Body Snatcher, you've got folks in Tennessee, you've got folks all over that really are doing the best. And I don't know why I need that right now. I want to go to Chicago, obviously, to see my family and do stories there. But I think retracing my steps through this series is what is called for right now, and maybe even filling in some places where we haven't been. We've just shown on maps and shown from street views, and then so we can do a little local color, a little local interview. I very much believe ever since, in my own personal experience, 2013, the disruption really started with Snowden. My house got turned over right after Snowden, about a week after Snowden. That's when all the disruption in my life occurred. So I have, you know, summer of 2013 is very clear in my life. And I remember a Q group going up that was chasing Snowden. There was a Q group inside of NSA. And it's hard for me not to associate that Q group with this current Q group. It's hard for me not to associate NSA with Q because they formed it. It's hard for me not to associate DIA with cover support for any kind of rollout of NSA technology around the world. They work very closely together. So NSA kind of does the rollout of the technology, the surveillance technology, like PRISM or Palantir, and then DIA kind of does the cover stories. It's kind of like Jeremy Bash at CNN. So I very much believed, and I did a blog for a long time, in 2013. Maybe I should bring back some of those old blogs because they're more correct now than they ever were. But this is really a rollout of surveillance technologies around the world. Not only, as I've said before, not only the texts and your phone calls and your social media, but also your geolocation. This NRO, National Reconnaissance Organization, is the spy satellites. You just saw a whole bunch of Iridium satellites go up for their rat lines. And then, of course, NGA is you know, the geospatial analysis of you on that map, geolocating you to that street right there. And then, you know, building actually with a supercomputer, with a D-Wave computer in Clarksburg, West Virginia, you could actually build a movie of your life. You know, somebody could go, okay, tell me what happened 5 minutes before he went to this meeting and 5 minutes after he went to the, you know, He-Man Woman Haters Club or whatever. So is Clockwork Orange, which is what I've said it was a long time ago, a rollout of surveillance technology all over the world? It's Orange being a kind of, we're going to use these kind of fear events to say, oh, we got to put this in. We're going to have a fear event of a rundown in London, or a shooting of a woman in Bloomsbury by the tube, or a different, you know, terrorist events to say we need more PRISM, we need more Palantir, and so forth. So in actual fact, it is a very organized clockwork arrangement for rolling out these surveillance tools around the world. It's just that we add a little color, orange in this case, we add a little color, Q adding a little color, with colorful actions, colorful things, colorful reasons. Like Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis be wasted. And if you people have to die in order to further our agenda, so be it. And that is exactly, I think, is what's happening. So I think the next stop is Chicago. I do want to do Homan Square. I do want to do the casino, the U.S. Agricultural Station right there by the casino, and the Bio Recovery Center right there by the casino. I want to retrace my steps there. But I think if you look at everything that's happened since 2013 and look at how closely associated Q became with Snowden on this latest trip for supposedly exfiltrating Vault 7 tools in China, it's that same kind of idea that we had, harken back to 5 years ago when Snowden was first sending tools out. And I think this is just a way of exfiltrating tools to all of our partners around the world. When it gets to the point where it gets launched at the first level with NSA, FBI, kind of the first level tools. The second level is Five Eyes. You get it to your Five Eyes partners. The third level is every country in the world that we want to have a surveillance presence in. And I think that is order to the folks in DOD. So I do think the Clockwork Orange is that exact three-tier process, and everything follows that. And Q comes along, if Q is DIA, if Q is Tony Schaefer, if Q is Tony Schaefer's group, you have to come out things with like chain of command and the Q coffee cup and so forth. And you can't have somebody like me saying this, because people in the world are going to go, wait a minute, you're rolling out surveillance tools to our country. You're rolling out geolocation. You're rolling out, movies of my life, over years, all my associations, this is getting scary. You can't have that. You have to have somebody who is throwing people off the trail and saying, oh, no, that's conspiracy. There is no such thing as an address satellite. There is no such thing as iridium phones. There is no such thing as a drug trade. There is no such thing as quarter-weight drugs. There is no such thing as any of these things. There is no such thing as the Awans. There's no way the Awans could gotten away with sending terabytes of information to Pakistan, sending hundreds of suspicious activity reports, transfers, bringing hundreds of people into the country, getting hundreds of visas, getting hundreds of passports, hundreds of government jobs, hundreds of government loans. There's no way with NSA's capabilities that could possibly happen if there wasn't government support.